This is going to be the most scuffed episode ever. This is the only piece of furniture that I have. Did you put your light on?
I get it.
Amazing. Hi, Ben. Say hi, Ben.
Hi, Ben.
Wait, I've got rid of my usual LGBT co-hosts and I've replaced them with a cis, white, straight guy.
It's a really hard time to tell you that I'm trans.
You have experience with the topic of today, which is, I don't want to say dealing, but dealing with people in your life transitioning.
Yeah.
You've had me and another close person in your life transition.
I had another friend who became non-binary as well. And that was...
Yeah, that's 3.
Yeah.
I think you're doing it to people.
It might be kind of a radius thing.
I kind of wanted to talk about your experiences because we've been friends since school.
13 years?
Yeah.
I feel like.
That's a long time. And I transitioned 4 years ago.
Yeah, 'cause you transitioned during the pandemic, didn't you?
Because of the chemicals in the water. In a ratio that's, mostly you've known me one way. And then very recently, another. What was it like?
Like, you were the first person, I think.
To ever transition.
To ever, I think you were the first.
Hell yeah. Being a camera and a mic in front of you, probably scared to say something like that is considered wrong or like rude or whatever. But I'd like to know actually how it went. I'm sure it was difficult. I'm sure it was not the easiest thing to initially come to terms with, especially being the first person in your life that is trans.
I mean, you had kind of a progression, if I remember, from, was it gender fluid?
Yeah.
And then...
But that was quite a quick progression, in my opinion.
The gender fluid thing kind of bridged a bit of the
right
gap. I mean, in terms of I understood that you were having gender... I'm trying to think of a word that doesn't sound...
Issues.
Gender issues,
Gender
yeah.
issues. That helped you to kind of ease in slightly that this is something.
To me, it very much did feel a bit like the pieces start to add up from other stuff that you told me over. And sometimes when other people have revealed to me that, they are transitioning or stuff,
yeah,
there is kind of oh, okay. But then afterwards you're there was that.
There was that one thing that didn't make any sense. And now it makes sense.
Oh, yeah, you know what? This actually does kind of all add up. I was surrounded by pretty much entirely at the time cis people. So I hadn't really ever, had the experience of, the pronoun changing and kind of getting used to it. I didn't think much about the kind of trans community back then, but, sorry, I am a liberal.
Yo.
I know, disgusting. We say liberal on this one.
No.
Cut it. I wasn't being told something that I had any kind of thing against.
Yeah.
It would just be kind of an adjustment period, but that's also kind of life. People go through stuff and change and,
yeah.
ultimately if they're still the same people that you love and you still have the same kind of connections, that change doesn't erase that.
How long did it take you to shift in your brain?
You mean having to correct it in my brain to it being the default?
Yeah, I've got to remind myself to get this right so I don't upset this person to this is just this person.
I think it was a bit longer for you than with other people because you're always first. And I think during lockdown, because I didn't see you that much, I would mess up with the pronouns quite a bit at the start. But when I saw you, it was very easy to have that change. I think once seeing is believing in a way of once you see a person kind of making that change, it's a lot easier for your brain to reprogram. So
some anti-boy motor talk right there. You know who you are.
I'm sometimes a bit of a Ted Mosby in that I just tell stories a lot from my past constantly. Yeah. And it would be there where I trip up because a lot of those stories, initially, my memory of you was a different pronoun.
Yeah.
Initially I was is this going to be something I'm going to have to constantly be kind of editing in my brain? But it doesn't.
Forever.
It doesn't do that.
Were you saying I've erased the past?
It's kind of retcons the past.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. It's now when I see those memories, it's kind of re-editing how you look at those memories.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about you, past memories, I think of how you are now in those memories, even if they were in school. I think your brain just does that naturally anyway. The only one that upset me ever was 2 years in, when you made a slip up when you were drunk. 2 years in seems like a long time, but it isn't. I'm completely different 4 years in than I was 2 years in. It'd be a hell of a lot harder to do it now than then, even though at the time I felt like I was so different.
Yeah, I mean, for you, I guess it's like you're 2 years in, but there is at that time 9 years of memory of the old. So it's kind of balancing that out, but it does balance out quicker than you would think. It's not like
it's not none.
You don't have to go through the amount of time you've spent.
And you didn't mean anything bad by it, and it didn't mean that that's how you saw me either. But that's the bit that I think I would be insecure about.
I think that was another example of telling the past story.
That was exactly what we were doing.
Yeah, and brain just farted essentially.
In terms of my representation, I would say that I'm like very, very binary. I went from like one right to the other. It was like a switch. Easy. You've mentioned that someone in your life came out as non-binary. Is that maybe a bit harder to kind of figure out as someone who doesn't know very much about the trans community in general?
That one, there wasn't that much visual difference.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, they already dressed fairly androgynously.
Right.
So having to use the pronoun they, there for everything, it is a bit more of a like out of lane field than just kind of getting used to. I mean,
for some people. To be fair, I quite like those pronouns accidentally. I use they, them to describe a lot of people in my life without thinking about it. And I've done it forever. I don't know why.
I remember having like a discussion with a person and they were like, I don't get it. I've never used they or their. And I'm like, so if you didn't know the gender of a person.
Yeah.
And who was like, coming to the house, how would you refer to me? And they were like, I'd always know. That's the worst mutant power ever. Imagine being on Magneto's Brotherhood of Mutants. And they're like, the X-Men are coming. I know the gender ratio.
I know the gender of all of them.
Do you know who they are? No.
Do you know their powers? Do you know that? Nope, but I know their genitals.
Yeah, sometimes there are weird hills that people die on. But for the other person I know, largely everyone in their life, even though there might have been some like teething troubles, I guess, very quickly got on the idea of this is a person we care and love about, so let's support them.
One thing that is nice is that it didn't affect our friendship, and it has affected other friendships, definitely, I think, where I've become less close with people.
What I liked about you is not gender specific.
Yeah.
So you know the personality, well, there might be some changes over transitioning. The things I like about you, the hobbies we share and the things we laugh about. That didn't change.
They didn't transition. We just added boobs, which sounds cool.
Yeah, it's good for that. If the trans community should just market that more.
Yeah.
So I'm just adding boobs to things.
No, we didn't have like particularly masculine conversations.
Oh, tits. Nice.
In general, the dynamic has changed. I'm very aware that you were a guy. I'm sure you were very aware that I am a girl when we were hanging out.
It changes certain things, like not just how you perceive it, but how you think other people will.
You've been called my boyfriend a few times by like waitstat. What was that thing last week after we were at the office?
Which you took more personally than I had.
So we were like at the IC office doing work all day, and then I wanted to go to a restaurant. We went to a restaurant, I ate some food, and then the waitstaff thought that we were like a couple. And as we were leaving, she complimented me, and then she like negged you.
Yeah, she was like, "You're very lucky to have her."
And then you went, and then after you walked past her, you were like, I'm not implying you got like annoyed about it.
Well,
and then I took offense.
I was like, maybe I didn't have to need luck. You don't know that. You don't know I had to pray to the gods of fate.
Oh my God. Yeah, so the dynamic does change. It's not like we act exactly the same as we did. You like walk me home after the office and stuff. Because even outside of like being trans, I'm now a woman, so I'm another dangerous category to exist in.
It's,
which is not something that you would have done before. But things do change. That is important.
Yeah.
To know, because the point of this video is that people ask me a lot, like,
I am friends and family of somebody. How do I best deal with this? How do I best make them feel comfortable or safe or things like that?
It is important to know that things are going to change. It's not going to be 100%. If someone tells you they're transitioning, it's not that person is like dead and gone and will never come back, but it is a big change, and they are going to be different, which seems pretty daunting. But
there will be sometimes, especially if it's one of more, your earlier introductions into somebody in your life transitioning, there will be a certain element of, you've got to put some effort into this.
Yeah.
You've got to take some time to actually process this and how you think and articulate about it. But once you've met one trans person, you've met them all. That's not what I mean.
So do you have any advice?
You'll be surprised how, if people like you, like really actually care about you and like you,
Yeah.
they will want you to stick around and they will want to put the effort in. That's for the side of the people who are transitioning, kind of want to
Yeah.
end up telling friends. I can't tell you that there wouldn't be some interactions, I'm sure you know.
Some people will dip, but it's for the best. Definitely.
Yeah, I've found a lot of the times the people who care so much about what you do with your appearance and your life,
Yeah.
and it has to fit their viewpoint, otherwise they don't want to be around you, they're probably not going to stick around for too much longer anyway.
It'll
Or
be something
great.
else. Yeah, they're just unhappy.
Yeah,
If it's not that, it's something else.
they'll get something else down the line where they're
Yeah.
like, why can't you just constantly be what I want you to be? Which is weird.
What about people struggling to accept someone in their life as trans? Because you, as I said, are just making people trans. It just doesn't, every second week there's someone else that you
maybe
become trans somehow.
I've just had to get okay with it because, eventually
Keeps
I'm going to
happening.
be the last cis man.
Compared to the average person, you've had to come to terms with people being trans in your life quite a lot. So if you ever weren't okay with it, you had to very quickly learn.
You have to put a bit of effort in, of on your end, just making the effort to use the right pronouns, even in your thoughts as well. It's not just how you vocalize it, it's how you think it. And then by a certain point,
It still becomes natural.
there's a slight level of concern, not for I don't want you to do this, but going I now reveal that you are part of a demographic that's not having the best time right now in terms of how certain people view you. If you're struggling with that concern, accept that you can't, again, control people's life and keep them into certain categories to make you feel better.
Yeah.
You just have to support them the best that you can.
My mom has nailed it. She hasn't messed up ever, really, to be honest. Even my grandparents, who are currently struggling with their memories. The only difference in my life now is that every time I go to a family event, multiple people say how brave I am.
I was about to ask, is it the brave
It's
thing?
the brave thing. Yeah, is your progressive here is your progressive award, cis man, for being so progressive. Well done, you. Now I have to do the
Outro?
incredibly long process of turning all these things off that I've plugged in to make this work.
You can just hit them with a hammer and then keep the core bit.
Good idea.
Yeah. Oh my god. If a guy stripped down to his pants in front of me, that's not really anything. I mean,
Or
unless
if
you're a
I
really
do
hot
it.
guy, in which case, hello.
If I do it, it's just a HR complaint.
Exactly.
And then tits. What's not to like about that?